Slide 15 indicates society's economizing problem. We discussed this at the beginning of the chapter, and we said that we have unlimited wants and we have limited resources. So if we've got the earth and it only has so many resources on it that we have to deal with, we have to make choices about what we want the most. What are our priorities? What do we really want to have? If you can only have so many things, so many items, we've got our wants and we've got our needs, we've got things that we have to have, but we have a limited set of resources. We have to make priorities because of scarcity. We have to have priorities and we have to make trade-offs. In order to have more of one, we have to give up some of another. That's called opportunity cost. When we say economic resources, we call these economic resources factors of production as well. So what are these factors of production? Slide 16, we're going to identify what these factors of production are. There are four of them. 1, we've got land. 2, labor. 3, capital. And 4 is the entrepreneur. When we say land, we're talking about the physical land as well as all natural resources that go with it. Trees, water, oil, anything that is attached to the land naturally. It would not be an oil platform on the land because that's something that's extracting a resource from the land. If you are productive with your land, you will get a payment, which is going to be rent. So if I own some land, I can rent it out and make money. Number 2 is labor. That's people. We all own one of the 4 resources. So if I need income, I can go out and get a job. That's labor, and I can bring in more money. So the way to get more money is more jobs, which means more wages. So wages is the payment from labor. Capital is number 3. The payment from capital is interest. Now, if you're taking accounting, you know that capital is money or your assets, but that is not going to be the case in economics. Be sure you make specific notes in economics that capital is not money. Capital is the equipment or production items that you use to make a good or a service. It's the physical pieces of equipment that you use to make a good or service. It might be a bulldozer. If you're starting a lawn service, your capital might be a truck, might be a trailer, would be a lawnmower, might be a weed eater, a gas can, might be some rakes, might be anything that you need to go out and cut someone's grass. That's capital. It's what you need to produce a good or service. At Pearl River Community College, we produce a service of education. What you need to produce that, we need some buildings, we need some tables, some chairs, some desks, computers, overhead projectors, books, and we do need some land. We already have that. That's listed separately. But the capital is those physical things that we have to set up to produce that good or service. And then number 4 is the entrepreneur. And if the entrepreneur is successful, the payment they'll receive is profits. They're not always guaranteed a profit, but if they're successful. Slide 17, the entrepreneur is special because they bring us things that we don't get ourselves. The entrepreneur goes out and takes a risk. They put their own money out there and they bear personal financial risk. They take an initiative, they innovate, they give us new products, and they bring us things that we don't normally have, like next month will be coming out the new iPhone. We wouldn't have that if it wasn't for for an entrepreneur that went out and risked and took chances and risked his own money and talents to do that. So the entrepreneur combines land, labor, and capital and provides us with a service. The next slide, we have a definition of production possibilities curve. The curve is just the points on a production possibilities table that are plotted and put on a curve. Now, some students have some problems with the production possibilities concept in general, so I'll kind of give you an idea of what that is. But let's read the definition first. It's a curve showing the different combinations of two goods or services that can be produced in a full employment, full production economy where the available supplies of resources and technology are fixed. So if we are in the big world and we only have so many resources to work with, which we are. We have fixed resources. That's one of our assumptions. Number two, we have fixed set of technology. So right now, at this very point in time, we only have so much technology to work with. And let's assume that we're going to make two different products. And we want everybody to be employed. So let's assume everything we have in the whole wide world, and this is the same example I used in my classroom. So if any of my classroom students are listening to this, they'll hear the same example. But if we only have 5 trees in the whole wide world, and that's all of the resources we have, and that's all we're ever going to have. We only have 5 trees. That's the maximum resources that we have. We're never going to have anything more than that. And we're going to make 2 things. We're going to make 2 kinds of books. That's the 2 goods. And we want to use full employment, so we want to make all the things we can. We want to make 5 books. Say 1 tree makes 1 book. So full production would mean 5 books. So fixed resources, we only have 5 trees. Fixed technology, 1 tree makes 1 book, and there's not anything new. We don't have a ebook yet or a new production, a plant facility that allows us to make 2 books out of 1 tree. So what can we do? What are the possibilities for making the 2 books with only 5 trees that allows us to make 5 books? So what kind of books do we want to make? Well, this is economics, so we're going to make an economics book, and we're going to make, let's say, an accounting book. We want to stick with business courses. So what are the possibilities? How many economics and how many accounting books could we make with 5 trees, which equals 5 books? Well, we could make 5 economics books, 0 accounting, 4 economics, 1 accounting, 3 economics, 2 accounting, 2 economics, 3 accounting, 1 economics, 4 accounting, or 0 economics, 5 accounting. Those are the possibilities for production. That's all we can do. That's all the combinations, because we have no more resources. So, could we produce 8 books? The answer is no, because we have fixed resources. We only have enough resources to make 5 books because we have 5 trees and every tree makes 1 book. Because our resources are limited, we cannot make more than 5 books in this particular example. So making 8 books is not a possibility because our resources are limited. Can we make 2 books? We said we've got enough resources for 5, so could we only make 2 or could we only make 3? Well, at 5 books, everyone has a job. We're at maximum employment. So what would happen if we only made 2? Well, if we're all employed at 5 books, if we cut off 3 of the 5, then over half of the people we had employed are going to go home. So we're going to be less than half employed if we only make 2 of the 5 books. So underutilization of our resources causes unemployment. It also causes inefficiency, productive inefficiency, which means it causes high cost per unit. This means that if we produce at maximum capacity, we can spread our cost over all units. You'll learn in accounting and in microeconomics that there are a set of costs that you incur for a business called fixed cost that you pay whether you produce 0 books, whether you produce 2 books, 3 books, 5 books, 10 books. Examples are your rent, your property insurance, and depreciation. These things stay the same whether you produce 1 or you produce 5. So if you're producing 5 items, you take those fixed costs and you spread them over 5 items. So cost per item goes down. But if you're only producing 2, those fixed costs are only spread out over 2. So it means you've got more cost in those 2 items. So if the market price is the same, you have more cost per item. That means your profit is lower because you take revenue minus cost equals profit or loss. That means you're productively inefficient. So any amount that we produce that's less than maximum capacity causes productive inefficiency and it causes unemployment. You can see this in your PowerPoint on slide. You see the unemployment on, let's see, there's a graph on slide 25 that shows you what it looks like. So you've got points on the graph, A, B, C, D, and E, and on the left side of that curve would be inefficiency. So let's look at slide 19. You've got the production possibility points for pizza and for robots. These are the 2 goods that you're using in this example. Pizza represents consumer goods. Robots represents capital goods. Consumer goods are those things that you consume right now, then they're gone. They're all gone. Like it might be beer you consume over the weekend, it might be going to a movie, going on vacation, and then it's gone. Some people consume consumer goods to make themselves happy. Some people invest in savings or buying equipment. That's what the robot is. A better example of this would be pizza or the pizza restaurant. So consumer goods make you happy now. Capital goods are investment in items that will make you more consumer goods. So buying the pizza restaurant will make you more consumer goods that you can consume later. So those are the 2 examples. So we're plotting the points of the possibilities, what we can produce. You'll notice that the pizza, you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have no pizza, 1 pizza, 2, 3, or 4. In order to move from 0 pizza to 1 pizza, you've got to give up. Moving from 0 to 1, you move from 10 to 9. So the opportunity cost of adding 1 pizza is 1 robot or 1. It's in thousands. So when you move from 1 to 2 pizzas, your opportunity cost is 2 because it moves from 9 to 7. And as you move from the second to the third pizza, your opportunity cost is going to be 3 because your robot consumption goes from 7 to 4, and then it goes from 4 to 0. Now it's getting bigger on the bottom. That's the law of increasing opportunity cost. Now moving on to a couple of slides forward, we've got slide 22. How do we get that curve to move outward? Which would be kind of like producing more than 5 books. Anything to the right side would be producing more. The only way we can produce more than those possibilities would be if we've got more resources, better resources, which is more productive resources, like getting an education or making your land, labor, and capital more productive, or advances in technology like getting an e-book. Getting our books electronically means we can save the trees, and we can produce more with what we have. So anything to the right side of that curve would be economic growth. Okay, so if we refer to slide 25, any point along the curve, points A, B, C, D, and E are possible. Any point on the left side of that curve is possible, but it causes unemployment and inefficiency. Any point to the right side of that curve is not possible because of limited resources. We don't have enough. Be sure that you understand this graph and the representations of each, because I might give you an example of a point on the line there, a point to the left and a point to the right, and you would just have to identify which one is possible, which one is not possible, and which point would cause unemployment and inefficiency. Okay, moving right along to slide 28, there's 2 terms on here that you will need to understand. The fallacy of composition. There are some fallacies in economics, some things that are not true. We talked about generalizations earlier. We said that we can apply concepts generally to consumers, like generally speaking, when incomes go up, spending goes up. That applies to most of the general public, but there are some that it doesn't apply to. It may not apply to one, but it mostly applies to everybody. You can't flip that terminology around, that reasoning, and you can't say that what's true of one is true for the whole. You can say what's true for most is probably not true for just one, but what's true of one can't be true for all. You know, you can't say that what one person likes must be what everybody likes, or what the habits of one person must be the habits of everyone. You know, I love pink, so everybody must love pink. Not true. That's the fallacy of composition. The post hoc fallacy is a fallacy that says that just because A happens before B doesn't mean that A caused B. That's correlation and causation. Just because 2 things are correlated doesn't mean they caused each other. I used the example in class about football, which most people can relate to. A new football coach comes to a school, and now the football team is winning. So A event is new football coach. B event is the football team is winning. Question: did A event cause B event? Did the new coach cause the winning team? Not really. It could be. Could be he's a fabulous coach and he just guided everyone to victory. But there could be several other possibilities for that. It could be that they got a new quarterback, or their old quarterback came back that's fabulous. It could be that the team is playing really lousy opponents. It could be a number of reasons why the team is winning. It could be the reason, but it's not necessarily the reason. I've got a couple of other slides that relate to the index, not the index, to the appendix in the chapter. We're not doing all of that terminology and all those pages in the appendix, but you do need to know what a direct relationship is. A direct relationship is going to be a graph that points from the bottom corner and points straight up. It's when two things rise at the same time. When one thing goes up, the other goes up. For example, when consumer incomes rise, consumer spending rises. When consumer income falls, consumer spending falls. An inverse relationship would be a curve that's downsloping, and that's when one thing falls, the other thing goes up, or vice versa. When one thing goes up, the other goes down. Examples: when the price of an item falls, the quantity demanded goes up. Or when the price of tickets go up, the quantity sold goes down. So those are inverse. Could also be immunizations. As the number of immunizations for children rises, the number of children getting childhood diseases goes down. Those things are inversely related. Okay, independent variable and dependent variable. When you're drawing a graph, on the vertical axis, straight up and down, is where you will draw price. You're going to put price on the vertical axis. On the horizontal axis, you would put your quantity demanded. So if we had tickets for sale, the ticket prices would go on the straight up and down. The quantity you're going to sell, or quantity demanded, would go on the horizontal. The quantity demanded would be your dependent variable. Price would be your independent variable. So the quantity we want depends on price. So price is independent. The quantity demanded depends on what the price is of that product. Okay, so what we do at the end of each chapter is go to your lab and you have a homework assignment to complete once you're finished with every chapter. If you have any questions, any concerns, please let me know.